Okay, I believe this is Dakota's 7th riding session. I could be off, but I think that's what it is. 7 or 8 maybe. So I'm gonna do a little bit more riding kind of on my own. That's kind of the goal. It's kind of wean her off of the ground person, try to get her responding to the rein cues and to my leg cues and not the ground person. So just kind of hang out here for a minute. She still kind of wants to walk off. I think she might be a little uncomfortable for me riding her bareback, and I think I probably didn't do enough standing still on the ground. This is nice though. I'm just when she's going forward, I'm asking her to just bend to a stop, and she actually crossed over really nice and flexed and was really soft. So that all looks pretty good. Um, like as far as her responding to me asking, but I think I definitely could have prepared her a little bit better on the ground, to just standing still. And I could have done it under saddle as well as just lots of standing still, lots of relaxing, and done a lot more of that before I started asking her to do stuff. But that's so if I could redo it, those are things I would redo it. But I asked her to flex going the other way because she wanted to walk off again. Um, so yeah, but I mean, if she continues to walk off, like there's something going on, like either training's not working, and you need to try another strategy, or something's making her go forward. And I think in this case, like I'm probably uncomfortable on her back, like my weight is uncomfortable because she doesn't have a lot of like padding and stuff on her spine. So I feel like that has like a hand in it. Like she feels uncomfortable, so she wants to move forward. I feel like that's probably the main reason because this keeps happening over and over and over again. Um, and at the time, I wasn't really paying attention to it too much. I think I was more focused on getting her ridden than anything else. So definitely pay attention to your horse. Pay attention to little things because this is a little thing. She's not bucking and bolting and rearing. She's just moving slowly off, but it is telling you something bigger is going on. So again, I'm cutting out the times between where I'm getting on and off. So I got off a second ago, and then it just cuts to me getting back on because I'm just walking her back over, talking to my ground person. So gonna flex her going this direction and see she wants to stop again. Like I need to ask her to go forward and kind of bend through that transition. That's kind of what I'm looking for instead of like I like that she's responding to the rein cue and she is stopping right away, but I'd like her to step underneath herself, and bend more to that stop and just find the stop than just abruptly come to a halt, because that's what we'll need later on. And if she has any tension, like it's not really getting rid of the tension, it's just having her stop. So those are some changes as well. And I think like I knew that at the time, but I was just like, she wasn't offering it to me. She wasn't offering it to me. She wasn't offering it to me. So I was just like, okay, well, she stopped. So, I'll take it kind of a thing. But I shouldn't have. I should have been like, okay, she needs to finish this step before moving on to the next. So, but I am doing a bit more steering here offline, and she's doing totally fine with it. She has very soft steering. She will flex and bend and go whichever way you want her to go. She just has a tendency to want to stop and just kind of think by default all rein cues are to stop, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it isn't exactly what I want. This looks really nice, just kind of doing some nice, bending to the right, like some inside turns here. She wants to get stuck. This isn't by the gate. I'm asking her to go forward. I think she might want to stop and get a fly off of her. I think, yeah, she's trying to look kind of to their side and get that off. So it's not her. Yeah, she's trying to get her fly off her face there. It's not her being confused or being naughty or anything. She just is like, I need to get this fly off my face. So that's another thing of pointing out that body language and behavior to notice. And the other part of it where she's at in the round pen is right in front of this panel here, is right directly to the left is the gate. So she does slow down in front of this panel, the one to the right of the camera, and in front of the gate on the left side. So that is important to realize as well. That's her magnet. That's how she gets out. But it's also important to realize that there's a reason they want to get out. Like maybe this isn't super fun for them. So that's another part of this. Like I don't have nearly as many gate issues and magnet issues now using clicker training than I've ever had before. So that's something to think about. But if you're using negative reinforcement, you have to make them do a bit more work at the gate or at the magnet, and that's how you fix that, and then resting away from it. So, and at the time, I'm like having her stand here, which is probably not necessarily a great choice. I'm not sure if I'm just trying to plan with my ground person, like what I'm trying to do, but be careful of that and like aware of where your horse is at all times and where they're kind of like getting a rest break. So again, she wants to kind of wander off. I mean, she doesn't have a really long attention span either. She's 3. So that could be another factor that's coming into play here. But I'm just trying to flex her and go the other way. I'm not sure if I was trying to flex her to a stop there and then just decided to keep going. That's the other problem with horses that are quiet like this and that don't show like how they're feeling quite as obvious, is like she's probably a little worried and wants to go forward a little bit. And then I was just like, oh, well, she seems pretty relaxed. I'm just going to let her, instead of flexing her, bending her to a stop, getting her to relax, and then continuing on. So I think that is another issue with horses like her. There she got confused. She wanted to go backwards, and then she figured it out, went forward again. But yeah, I think she's also going back to her default, which is slow and like stop and be kind of shut down, because that's how she was. If you watch in the very beginning, um, she wants to kind of just, that's her default. That's what when you put pressure on her, that's what she does. So I got to be very aware of that too. It's not her necessarily being like lazy or just, oh, she's quiet and relaxed. It's she's also worried because she's shutting down. So that's important to notice as well. And I definitely had a harder time because I'm used to those more forward horses, and so I just assume, oh, she's so quiet, she's so, great, whatever, so relaxed, but she's actually tense, and it's just harder to see. So I'm just letting her kind of wander around here, doing a little bit of steering here or there. I'd like her to walk a bit more forward. I mean, I know she's bred to walk slow, but I mean, she can walk faster. I've seen her do it, like in the pasture. So just a little bit of steering, and then once she kind of flexes and takes that step over with her front feet, I'll let go. Then I'll let her kind of cruise around for a little bit, and then I think I'm trying to bend her to a stop here. And again, you can see that she's not going all the way through to the stop. Like she kind of bends her neck and stops, which ideally I should have had her crossing underneath. So when that happened, ask a little bit with my legs, she steps underneath, then she stops, then she flexes, then I get off. But I was just kind of doing it halfway basically and was like, oh, well, she stops so close enough. I definitely don't recommend doing that, because you're not getting the behavior all the way. Just because they're quiet doesn't mean they're not bothered by something. They're just internalizing it, just like an introverted person would do. So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned with her so far. So back to asking her to go forward. Again, not a lot of that. Maybe I was asking her to flex. Maybe she was going forward on her own. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, when she goes like here, it looks a little bit better where she can just kind of walk. Yeah, that looks better. I mean, that's a slow walk, but it's better than you saw a second ago. So I like this, that she's kind of going forward and maintaining that a little bit more. So that's nice. And at times it's kind of hard to tell what I'm doing. I'm like, am I asking her to stop? Am I asking her to flex? Am I asking her to bend to a stop? Not sure. So I'm asking her to stop with both reins there, which she's actually quite good at because that's something she knows from the ground driving. But I do want her to know how to stop from bending to a stop. So that is important to kind of get them mentally back to you too, as well as physically. So that is an important part of what I'm doing. But I was kind of just too stuck on, well, I want to get her to trot, and so that's what I'm focusing on here is I want to get her on the rail. I want to get her steering a little bit so that I can put her into a trot, which, at the time makes sense because it can be quite easier to steer and stuff once you have a little bit more momentum. Like I have no forward motion here, so it's like, okay, I steer, but I just stop. This was actually a decent turn. She paused it a little bit, but that was actually quite good. The tree's kind of in my way. I have to duck, but so I was more stuck on, oh, well, I need to trot. I really want to get her riding in this time frame and not just paying attention, taking it slow and doing what she needs to do. And then when I have to go back now and redo a lot of that training, yeah, makes you pay for it because you have to go back and fix it. So yeah, I don't recommend just going through the things just to say you're done or to check off a box, but it's not really solid with the horse. So I'm just kind of doing like steering the opposite way. So she kind of went off to the right there. I'm going to steer her to the left. It looks really good. Okay, so I'm bending her to a stop. I'd like her to ideally cross those hind legs over again. Like she didn't. She took some steps to the left and did flex her neck to the left. But I mean, ideally I would like her to step underneath. But I'm just kind of doing it halfway here, so it's not great. So I don't know if she's necessarily uncomfortable here, and like that might be her not liking me on her back. That might be her trying to get at a bug. I'm not really sure. She never really like bit at my leg or anything while I was on her. But yeah, that might be a sign of discomfort there. So I'm asking her to bend and go forward. You can see with my leg here, with that left leg, There she steps up underneath herself. That's what I should be asking for, is that step up underneath yourself. And I can do that for the go forward as well. Like in the beginning, lots of times when you're first starting, is they kind of start from that bend and then go forward. So I was trying to put a little bit of a bend in her and have her go forward, which might have been a little confusing to her because I'm asking her also for the same thing to stop. So I think she's probably confused there because, like, of course, you saw me bending her until she stops. So now I'm bending her and asking her to go forward. But the main difference is there is going to be the leg use. So I'm using my leg to get her to go forward, and I'm just having her cross under and then go forward, like walking forward. But with the bending to a stop, I don't use my leg unless I need her to step underneath. As soon as she steps underneath, I stop. So, but you can see how it's very similar. Even for a person, it could be confusing. So for a horse, it could definitely be confusing. So I'm bending her again to stop here. That's why she's stepping over so much. And I want her to step, or I'm going to get her going forward again is I guess what I'm doing. It's hard to tell if I'm going to go bend to a stop or get her going again. So, but those are that's the main idea. This is what I'm trying to do here. Is kind of get her feet unstuck, get her stepping underneath herself and then going forward. But what I should have done is started that from the bending to the stop. Like I mentioned, is she needs to step underneath. When she steps underneath, she's putting a bend in her body. She's engaging those core muscles, and she's also moving off of my leg is what I need to go forward too. And I could do that, almost at a standstill from that hind quarter yield and to get that engagement and get her going forward off my leg, but I'm not getting it there. So that's why I'm not getting a lot of forward when I'm asking her in a straight line as well. So I'm kind of compacting it for myself. So ask her to stop. She's decent at that 2 rein stop. I think I'm asking her to back up. Okay, I'm asking her to back up with the fence there. So she did give me a backup step. Wasn't the prettiest backup step. Now she's stopping, but she's still kind of going a little bit forward here, and then she's a little bit confused about. I probably could have released a little bit when she was giving with her neck there. Just gonna help her find the right answer. There we go. That wasn't too bad. But you want to, when you're doing things like that, I mean, just with steering or backing up or stopping is rewarding the try, especially with negative reinforcement. It's a lot easier with positive reinforcement. You see the behavior get closer to what you want and you shape it. For negative reinforcement, you have to do the same thing. So if she's not backing up, but she's kind of shifted her weight back, or she's moved her head back or lifted her neck, those also need to be released. If you wait until you're actually getting the whole backup step, that's when horses get really stiff, really hard, or they don't do it at all and they just kind of fight you. So that's really important to do as well. And I missed definitely some spots there. There she's moving off a little bit better. I do like that. And then the stop was okay. Stop was decent. Backup was a lot better. Yeah, the backup was really good. And I like where her head and neck is at. She seems pretty relaxed. I mean, that is normal for her breed and how she's bred, but so yeah, there's good things, there's bad things. I mean, this is why this is a critique. You change and you grow and you figure out better things to do. So, I mean, I like this process of doing it for sure. There's just those few things that I would change. I would get the standstills solid. I would get that engagement in the hindquarters and she's moving off of my leg. And then she's like the same thing with the hindquarters is when she's bending to a stop, she has that. And then when she's going forward, she has that as well. Because that would really help and solve a lot of things. And I think looking into putting a saddle on her, putting a bareback pad on her, doing something else to where because I think she's uncomfortable, and just playing with that a little bit to help her be more responsive and comfortable, because she's going to be more responsive when she's comfortable. It just goes hand in hand. That was a very nice backup. But yeah, those are some of my changes on what I would redo. But you live and learn. So, but she is responding well. Like, I'm pretty happy for what 7th, 8th ride. She's fairly relaxed overall. I can steer, I can stop, I can go forward at a walk, so that's pretty good. And then we're going to work on the trot here shortly, I think, in my next ride. So, overall, nothing crazy. I don't believe in, doing everything at once. So super, super fast. Like, I have time. She's 3. So, but yeah, that was a decent bend to a stop right there. She actually crossed under, so good place to end.